Alright, welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings Here in Mendham. Yeah, pretty much. Alright, so yes, I did make a video this week, earlier today. Yeah, just another video trying to persuade people, and mostly talking to people, I suppose, who are already convinced that this is all quite miserable, and there's got to be something that can be done to prevent having the reoccurrence happen, where you're going to again wake up on planet Earth and have to go through this struggle of making sense of something nonsensical and find some way to live, your life. Unfortunately, you won't have the same advantages you had in this life, and so you're going to be even more of an asshole. And that's very discouraging. Yeah, it's very depressing. So anyway, so this channel isn't about living with that, because I don't have any advice. I'm not doing it very well, frankly. I am surviving, and I'm continuing to talk, but I'm not doing much else in terms of I don't have any immunity to the vile sense of dread and doom I must face every day with. But anyway, it's all beside the point, I suppose. The point is to try to figure out how to convey this understanding that life is poison, and that it's a bad idea, that it's cruel. Frankly, it's just plainly cruel, and it should be discouraged. It should be prevented eventually. It should be stopped, and as graceful as way as possible, and all that. So in that vein, I made a video just about, again, different ways of communicating ideas to people, and how this medium of video is a good medium. You have to make it more interactive and turn into a game, with something that intrigues people's, stimulates their problem-solving instincts and their competition and all of those little subtle mechanisms that exist in people. And then the side effect will be the philosophical realization that they're defending, for example, a meat grinder, as in the illustration in the video. But anyway, alright, so we'll find an appropriate spot and see what I said. Video, I guess the idea that at some point, I'd like to put this into some sort of format. So I'm just saying the same thing I just said, basically. At some point, I'd like to be able to do that, but yes, there's so much to do, and it's very time-consuming, meticulously creating any kind of visual art. It's never finished, so to speak, and so I have made crude efforts in the past, and so we'll see. We'll see. If I can get enough of a blueprint to force, to encourage or even pay somebody else to turn it into a product. But first, I need a better blueprint of the product, and so I have to spend some time thinking about it. You fix it, or if it's going to blow up, so this is just a little free will argument, where you're, look, the real point isn't whether somebody, it's their fault. The point is if somebody's like, whatever, I can never remember her name, Smallpox Mary, whatever the hell it was, right? I always get it wrong. You do something to stop it. You don't, it's not just about punishing people for the fun of it. It's about punishing people because it's a deterrent. And it just makes infinitely more sense to punish people who are guilty than people who are innocent. So, yeah, duh. So you don't throw away a justice system or a system of protection for society because the criminals can't help being a moron. And, you know, they're young and silly. You know, so I guess I was talking about the general audience on the internet, you know, the leisure types, and the fact that, you know, yes, they're disproportionately immature, and so it's a, you know, it's an audience that needs a certain kind of feeding. You know, they need baby food, kind of thing. What kind of, you know, monster, you know, are you attempting interaction with? So this was about the idea. I just wish the internet was about, you know, more information, not less, and that we all should be profiled, essentially. I mean, we all should have a real identity on the internet. It doesn't have to be your personal name, but I just mean it has to be a real identity, just one of them. You don't get to have more than one. And the truth is that it should be revealing. It should say something about who the fuck you are, and identify your motivations by understanding how you would answer 100 questions, and that we should be interacting with known quantities, not unknown quantities, you know, and because it just doesn't make much sense to you know, that context is critical to understanding people's statements and giving them some sort of meaning. It really matters who's calling you fat. Specific to knowing who the hell the neighbors are, but just the idea of, you know, yeah. So some of the questions might be, would you want your neighbors to breed? You know, it might be an interesting question. If you could sterilize them benignly, you know, without any consequence, would you press the button? I mean, would you know that, yes, these people really shouldn't have kids? And how, you know, practical utility in terms of function, and how much of humans, their function is just destroyed by all these distractions. So I think I was talking a little bit about just, you know, the silliness of what people get occupied with, and I made a reference to the past where certain scientists would waste a whole bunch of time arguing religion. And, you know, it was just such a waste of their brains to sit there and start arguing about how long they think God's hair is. You know, too silly. I guess I shouldn't say it's generosity, because again, it was just a point where I was making a point that, yeah, see, all my altruism isn't really altruism, because I'm just basically doing it, saying it out of my own fear. I wouldn't want it to happen to me, so of course I'll concede it shouldn't happen to you. But the real point is I can only appreciate it being bad because it would happen. It could happen to me. If it does happen to you, most of the time I'm saying, good, you deserved it. You know, that's my emotional reaction. But I know better, so I don't say that. But that's what I'm feeling, in a sense, is that, you know, humans can't really get it any worse than they deserve. You know. But I do know better than that. What I think of is the different games you could design in terms of that would give people an appreciation for this dark side of life. Alright, so just spelling it out. If you play a game and you can get some appreciation for you know, the statistical outcomes. You know, so if you're a prairie dog in the game, and you find out, well, they only live 3 years, and blah, 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 and they have 26 kids, and only, you know, 1 out of those 26 lives, and all, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, you get to play out the reality, and just see how often it's dead ends, how often it's a shitty end, and how few successes there are in the carnage. And the successes aren't successes in the sense that they're all going to get, it's just a matter of when. So it's how long you get to live means something, and that's it. There's, you know, but there's nothing else to the game but a bunch of failures, a bunch of any victory is not going to be eternal. You're going to have to watch it melt. Torture put you through in the process, because it doesn't have any appreciation that there is any such thing as torture. Yeah, so just nature doesn't know that there's some value to this negative sensation thing, to pain, suffering, all of that. It doesn't know the word suffering, doesn't have any meaning to it. So the processes that we're involved in terms of the physical evolution that got us here wasting an awful lot of pain and suffering, because obviously the system didn't know it was a value, it was something meaningful. And then we're left to we can mitigate against that lack of appreciation, but obviously we're doing it insanely badly. So there's just no way to justify, certainly there would be no way to justify, that's why I'm an ethicist, there'd be no way to justify leaving nature intact and recognizing our vulnerability and just running ourselves out of the carnage when we're only a tiny percentage of it. So but yes, nature's what's got to be stopped. It can't, there's no way to reform it or conform it. The mechanism is just too stupid. Replication for the sake of replication. I mean, there's nothing else happening here. That even the smart people, you get little pieces where you say, gee, at least somebody was saying it was dumb. Like Newton apparently was quite sensitive to the... Oh, so yeah, I was just talking about how the past, it was just, some of the horrors that went on. And it's still going on, but, we have it, it's not in public view anyway. At least it wasn't a public spectacle. But people actually turn out to watch people killed. And, their guts spilled out. And all this crap that people thought was entertainment. And that kind of brutality is just incomprehensible from my perspective. And just playing that out in a synthetic way might give somebody appreciation for what's happening to them. Yeah, so just again defending the idea that if you make a game they can play, then they might learn something through the process of playing the game. Because they won't do it on purpose. I guess that's part of the argument, is that none of this can happen on purpose. People won't voluntarily be serious and take their life seriously. And it's in their life where they actually prayed for something and it actually happened. And so making some excuses for some wacky people who, they get hit with a brick and imagine that they visited God, and so now they have a memory, that this seems real to them, and therefore they have some reason to believe, but it's still not a very good reason. There's no good reasons, and they make heroes out of them. It's just, come on. Now I did my gratuitous, which I've done numerous times, picking at sports and just how it's such evidence of a diseased culture that we invest so much in such poor performance, silly little feats of some physical bullshit of jumping in the air higher than somebody else. I mean, it's just so fucking stupid and so costly. Food for thought. Blah blah blah. Okay, so yeah, it's the end of the video. Alright, so that's what it's just about some of the psychology of doing philosophy. So that's another part of the game, okay, of strategically attempting to make an argument, is that you have to make the argument, into an entertainment. So it's all these different subjects are kind of folded in to just the subject of what really persuades, what really works, and that's the point. You're hoping that the arguments will be valued on their face, just as you would hope someday people would be able to appreciate that you don't need a God to understand ethics, and to understand that we're playing for something here on earth, and it's called pain and suffering, and that we should never We should all have an interest in preventing the unnecessary stuff that has no purpose. Suffering that doesn't prevent suffering. If the suffering doesn't prevent more suffering in the future, then it's not worth enduring. It's worth eliminating, preventing. And that simple ethic is not mystical or magical or any of that bullshit. I mean, the fact that it's so plainly obvious that that's the value here in this universe is things that feel. If it doesn't affect a feeling thing, the event can't have any meaning. I mean, I really have to explain that over and over. It's pitiful that that has to be explained to people. You know, you don't need a God to tell you what's right and wrong. You can figure it out. The value that we're playing for is so obvious. We're playing for feelings. Duh. If it's not going to make me feel bad in some way, then why the fuck would I have any problem with whatever it is? I mean, it's just so obvious. Shit. Alright, so that would be about enough. And so, yeah, so until the next time and such, a little briefer than usual. And that might be a good thing. So, yeah. So, till the next time and such. This has been donotgod.com Google is Evil video presentation. Thank you for your attention and whatnot. Videos on the website, so you do have to look in the description or look in the comment section and you'll find links to the videos on the website. Yeah. I have to explain that. We really have no hope. So you are pretty hopelessly, disabled. You're probably not going to get any of it anyway. So anyway, till the next time and such.